Month since the ferry tragedy that's left more than 300 people either dead or missing. This country is in a state of shock over the scale, the gravity, the devastation of the accident.
The feelings of anger, frustration, helplessness, and grief have hit us all here in Korea and the world as questions about how this terrible accident could have occurred remain unanswered still.
It's what's called a collective trauma, says our Park Ji-won. She joins us live from the news center to tell us more about what it is that we are going through. Ji-won, I think each and every one of us have been touched by this tragedy in one way or another.
Hey, good evening, guys. You're right. Everyone here in Korea was touched by this tragedy. As more revelations about the ongoing investigation come out, Koreans grow even more outraged. They say they feel like they've lost a loved one of their own.
It's too bad that those young lives could have lived, but they had to die. It's too sad and too heartaching. How deplorable their parents must be. During the past month, I cried every time I watched TV reports.
It's been a month, but my anger about the tragedy hasn't gone down. Seeing how everything has turned out over the past month, I now have doubts about whether the whole social system can be changed, even if we citizens raise our voices. Helplessness and mistrust have followed the anger.
I have abstained from many things in mourning for the victims. I've kept myself away from some social outings and leisure activities, and other people seem to be doing the same.
And the citizens I talked to said they were feeling frustration, distrust, and even shame to be a Korean, as they couldn't imagine such a senseless disaster happening here.
And Ji-won, those feelings have been reflected on the consumer sentiment we're seeing.
Yes, the Korea Institute of Finance, for example, made a downward adjustment of its economic projection, down 0.1% from an earlier outlook. And according to finance research firm FN Guide this week, more than half of Korea's major companies downgraded their market prospects for the second quarter.
Well, obviously, we're all grieving in one form or another. Many of us have feelings we don't quite know how to address. So how should we, Ji-won, as Koreans, be coping with the tragedy and our feelings?
Well, so I asked the doctor that very question, and this is what she had to say.
If you're suffering from insomnia and constant crying, you need to stay away from social networking sites and news reports. However, it's not easy to do that since we as adults feel responsible for the accident. Then it becomes fight or flight. If you can't avoid the issue, you can take proactive steps like doing volunteer work, something that gives back to society.
And as you might imagine, the dangers are much greater for families of the victims. They are at risk of depression, dissolution of families, and even suicide. So she urges everyone to reach out a helping hand to them.
Now, Ji-won, another aspect of this tragedy raises questions about the nation's safety. We've had a series of safety disasters in recent months, such as the deaths of 10 people in the collapse of an auditorium in Gyeongju earlier this year. And also a subway collision not too long ago, just about a few weeks ago.
Yes, so they've got all people asking aloud whether it's safe to live in Korea. Well, experts point out that the lack of effective systems to prevent such accidents is a key concern. The lack of effective rescue control tower and the lack of related rules are often mentioned. And even if there are regulations in place, many are ignored by the people and by the authorities. And one of the experts also stressed the importance of safety education to improve safety awareness among Koreans.
Systemic shortfalls, problems within administrative bodies, a lack of safety education, these were big parts of the tragedy. For example, students of the Sewol-ho-ferry had no clue what to do when faced with such an emergency. That's why they relied so heavily on the announcements. And it's not just the students. The teachers never had any safety education until the day they became teachers. In advanced countries, when large field trips are planned, the first focus is on safety measures and safety plans.
You know, Koreans, when it comes crunch time, they know how to step it up and really deliver. But somehow when it comes to drills or rehearsals, we are not really very, I guess, supportive or very voluntary when it comes to those kind of moves. We've had some drills in certain big buildings recently with safety-related issues, and people weren't really cooperative, apparently, I heard, so we need to change that mindset quickly. But still, if you look at Korea, we have transformed pretty quickly from the remains of the Korean War to a booming economy, and some say such strong emphasis that's been placed on economic growth in the past few decades did play a role in these disasters.
Yes, many experts point out Korea's rapid economic growth came at the expense of safety measures as people try to cut corners to save time and money. As an OECD report shows, Korea now is the world's 15th largest GDP and one of the highest education levels. However, the nation still has one of the lowest levels of spending on social welfare programs and the highest suicide rate among OECD countries. And these all are great reminders that this should be a time of reflection on making this community a safe place to live for everyone.
Right, definitely. I mean, we as a nation should get to the bottom of this accident, learn from it, and rise to make this place a better place to live for us as well as our children as well. And of course, marking this 1 month since the ferry capsized, we have a message for all of those families and those who have been affected by the ferry disaster. We're all in this together. All right, Jiwon, thank you so much for that report.